So your last assignment in English 8 is a demo speech, and let me show you what's in the packet here. This assigns the speech and gives you the requirements. This is the eval, so that you know how you're being graded, and you only need one, but it was easier just to throw it in there and copy a set of two, because that's how I print them. And then you have an outline example to follow. This is my onion speech that I'm going to give in just a few minutes. You can see what level of detail am I expecting? Well, about like that, about like I filled it in for my speech. Your outline is blue, and that was separate, and this is due for you on the day that you speak. So I made it blue so it's hard to lose, and on the day you speak, you have to have it ready, and you turn it into me before you go up to give your speech. You're not tied to it, you're not looking at it, it's just your plan that you've practiced through. So you have your outline blank sheet, and then I made this so it was a tear off, so it could be torn off of the packet. This is optional. This is only needed if you are going to do something that needs the principal's approval. So think of it as sharp, dangerous, and alive. If you are trying to bring anything sharp, dangerous, or alive that might break school policy, you want to get that okayed by the principal. So some of you won't even need this. You're not doing anything that needs approval, that's fine. But if you are, it would be by May 13th. So some things that might need approval. If you are bringing in a bow, for example, you want to show how to pull back a bow, you cannot bring the arrows with it, but we'd still want to just have approval that Mr. Larson knows there will be a bow in the building without the arrows. Pets. We need to for sure run any pets by him. And if they are animals that can carry rabies, then by our school handbook you have to also have the rabies vaccination proof. And the vet's office can print that off for you whenever you need it. They have it stored in their computers, they can run you a new copy, but you have to bring that vaccination proof. Some animals don't get rabies, so then you wouldn't be held to that requirement. So you have to think about that. And then knives would be also sharp, dangerous, or alive. And in the past, we've just worked out that I keep knives here in my filing cabinet. Something you didn't know about me. I keep knives right over here. And then when you do your speeches, you just plan ahead and ask me, say, can I use the paring knife? Can I use that knife? Because I'm cutting a tomato for salsa, like you tell me what it's for, and then I provide the knife to you right before your speech. That saves us from going around with backpacks with knives in them in the locker area. Okay, so don't bring your own, and it would be nice just to fill out a sheet that you're going to be using a knife in class, and we have it. Better safe than sorry. I collect them all, and I sit down with Mr. Larson one time, big stack of like 17 requests, and we just go through them fast. And he says yes, no to all the requests, and then I give them back to you. So make sure you hit that deadline, and you're not trying to ask later after I've already had my meeting with him, because I don't like bothering people. And then I'd have to bother him again after I've already bothered him one time with my English assignment. So that is there for you. Okay, let's go back to the front page now and talk about this. You are going to be teaching us, it's a how-to speech, how to do something. This can be something that you have been doing since you were a toddler. You've grown up on roller skates. You've grown up playing tennis. You've known this forever, but the rest of us, we haven't. We would learn something from you, or it could be something brand new. You just went on YouTube. You just learned a new skill. You learned how to do the flowers with cake frosting and make different kinds of flowers. You just learned that you can come and teach us that. Whatever, we're interested to learn. With planning and permission, this can be a really fun unit. This is where we get the horses and the chickens and lots of food speeches. Yes, we've had horses right here in the room. Just kidding, Sam. We go out to the hack doors where the buses park for games, for varsity games, and then we have that whole space where cars can't park. That's really nice for looking at animals out there. We have food, we eat brownies, we drink smoothies, it's whatever. As long as you planned it and you have permission, we can have some really cool speeches going on. It's 4 to 8 minutes, so if you go shorter than 4 minutes, you're going to lose points. Your grade will be docked for not meeting the minimum. If you try to go longer than 8 minutes, you will be stopped. We have these time signals that will be running, and as you are speaking, someone will be holding them up. And I recommend they just keep them up all the time, so anytime you glance, it always says what minute you're on. You don't need to get aggressive with them. Don't need to shake them at the speaker. They'll just glance over. When you see 3 minutes, how are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Keep going. We're in the middle. When you see 4, how do you feel?
Amazing.
No matter what else, I won't be docked for going too short. How about 5?
Good.
Oh,
Start wrapping it up.
not a bad speaker here. How about 6?
Start wrapping it up.
Okay, we're heading for the end. How about 7? Yeah, now we better be heading for the conclusion. And then you're told 30, and then you're told 15, and then you get the big stop sign. And that stops you from taking up someone else's turn. Then you can't go longer than 8.
That's good.
But then you lose points because you probably didn't say your conclusion. If you were stopped in the middle of talking, you probably didn't get to the conclusion part. So just try to practice enough times that you know how many minutes your speech is. The outline will be due before you speak. And I know you might be thinking, well, that's silly. Why can't I use it? I made a plan. And this is what happens if you get the outline up there. It's very scary when your eyes look at me, so it would be a little more comfortable to kind of go back behind my paper. And there's that temptation to hide and to read instead of speaking, and the skill we're trying to get is eye contact and gestures, and including the room, and a paper ruins that. If you are worried about security, you can have note cards. It will allow you to have up to 5 note cards, but again, don't read to us.
Would these seniors come to the office, please? Sage Kaveen, Jet Stadema, Sam Mayhus, Rebecca Detweiler, Nick Diltz, Christian Hansen, Zach Baumgarten, and Jeff Graffing.
If you've practiced enough with your note cards, you probably will never even need them, but having them feels good, so you could just set them on your table, and then you know if you blank out all of a sudden and you forget your third main point, you can just look and you're back on track and you're back talking to the audience. So feel free to have note cards if you want to. I have note cards back in that chalkboard dresser. You can use them freely. Location, wherever you choose. We can be outside. Courthouse lawn is great for throwing a football and sport speeches like that. And we can use the gyms if they're not busy. There's always that if. This is my master schedule. You may come over and look anytime to see what rooms are free. And then you should also ask the FIAD teacher too, if it's okay that we're going to be in there. We kind of are lucky because once they go to lunch, like Mr. Roy has a junior class, as long as we time it so they go to lunch, we kind of have that gym to ourselves because of this 4th hour too. That's nice. So you pick location, but then tell us where we're going. We might have a speech here, and then outside to the hack lobby, and then we end in the gym. And those are our days. They're so much fun. Okay, timer video. We do need those jobs. We'll sign up soon. I do record them. I have a YouTube channel. You are the only thing that goes on it. Speeches every spring, and then the channel is dormant for another year until it's speeches time again, because that way your grandma in Ohio can jump on and see, and your cousins out in Montana can get on and see, and everybody can see your speech instead of just us one time and then it's over. No, you need to be broadcast. If you really disagree with being recorded and you bring me a parent note with a signature saying that you don't want to be recorded, I would respect that parent signature and parent note. Otherwise, we will plan to record you during your speech. Every good speech has a structure, class. It's just like an essay. So we have this outline right here. This is exactly what we should see. We should see an attention getter. You have to make people want to listen, a statement of purpose, and preview the main points. This is a lot like, what's the last line of your intro called? Where you have your stance, what you're going to cover. Starts with a T.
Thesis.
That's right, it's your thesis statement. This is kind of like your thesis in a speech. This is what we're going to cover today. And then you actually go and cover all of the main points that you plan. And at the end, you say your main points again. You review them again, and you have an ending line. What should your ending line tie back to?
Thesis.
No. Close?
Opening statement.
Back to your opening statement, back to your attention getter. So mine is going to start and end with movies. That's my plan. And then the audience feels like, okay, we're back where we started. We're back to that attention getter again. Do you think it's a little bit of overkill to say your main points and then say your main points and then say your main points?
Yeah.
It is. But are people good or bad listeners?
Bad.
Bad listeners. We all are. We have a million ideas in our heads and our own concerns running through, and a lot of times we will leave what a speaker is saying and we'll go off and think about our own things for a while, and then we drift back again, and by that time we've missed some of the main points. So a good speaker knows that that audience needs that structure repeated several times if they're going to take away information. Well, I've been talking. I don't really want to know, but I'll bet that you've already thought over lots of things like practice and work and after school and other assignments, and that's okay. We're just naturally not great at listening. Okay, back to the assignments here. We're almost to the bottom. Practice a lot. And if you want to bring stuff in, that's great. You can leave it along the side. My room starts to look like a garage sale. I have a guitar and tennis rackets and a blender and all kinds of stuff, hamster cage along the wall. You can bring your stuff in, but know that I don't lock my door. I am terrible at locking my door. So please don't put really important things in here that might disappear. One time, I babysat a snake all day long. I was very proud of myself. It was Tate Cephalopolis snake. And no harm came to it, no one stole it, and it was still safe at the end of the day after being in my classroom all day long. Ideas for you. Hair and makeup speeches, I especially enjoy. I also enjoy cooking and baking speeches when you bring samples for the class. Technology, you can take over computer and show things up here. Technology kind of speech. Musical speeches, planting, transplanting, pruning, arranging. Horticulture speeches are good. Sports, we get a lot of sports speeches. Hobbies, crafts, fishing lures, how to tie lures, archery, form, the form anyway. Jewelry making, calligraphy, painting, sketching, packing a suitcase, tying a tie, life skills, cutting a pineapple. Interesting, without losing all the fruit, just cool things to know. Life hacks could be a good topic for you. These become as interesting as you make them. Do you have questions right now about this assignment? I think we'll sign up on Thursday. That gives you a couple of days to think about your schedules and maybe any vacations you're still taking with family before the end of the year, and then we'll sign up. Okay, please turn to the outline. I'm now going to cut an onion. I'm going to give this speech so that you see an example. Now I'm nervous because it's different, and now I have to say all that stuff and remember it and speak over 4 minutes. And now everything just shifted. So I feel your nervousness that you're going to feel later. Okay, do I have a timer so I can get signals? Oh, I have like 7 timers.
I'll hold. You do a timer.
Wonderful. I should, because I picked a girl, so I should pick a boy, and Daryl and Wyatt would have been choices
I
as
need
well.
a phone.
Daryl's upset right now,
Yes, no,
because
no,
I
no.
didn't pick
Neither is Gavin. It's his first year. Gavin's never done it either.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, use your phone.
And when you feel nervous, you just take deep breaths, and then you try to look confident, because maybe you'll fake somebody out by looking confident. And another trick is to take up more space. If you're feeling unsure about yourself, you take up more space, and it makes you feel more confident. So this posture versus this posture should make you feel more confident. Okay, I think I'm confident now. The first time I saw Nicholas Sparks' The Notebook in the theater, I cried great, big, hiccuping sobs that embarrassed my date. I had a similar reaction when I watched Me Before You and My Sister's Keeper. So while going to the movies may be a good reason to cry, chopping an onion for your spaghetti sauce is not. Today I'm going to teach you how to cut an onion without crying. I will cover the science behind why we cry, some tricks people use to avoid it, and finally, a cutting method by which you will never shed a tear again over dinner. Let's talk first about the science behind why we cry. The onion is one of about 400 plants that is part of the plant genus Allium, and they absorb sulfur from the soil as they grow. Chives and garlic would be other examples of this plant family. And the sulfur exists peacefully inside of the bulb of the onion, contained in its cells, until we come along and slice through the cell walls and release the compounds. So inside, onions have naturally occurring allanase enzymes, and they also contain amino acid sulfoxides. So 30 seconds from the time we make the first slice, this gas is already forming in the air. It is unstable, and I don't remember a lot from high school chemistry, but I do remember that an unstable compound wants nothing more than to become stable. So it's looking for another element to combine with, and what would make it stable is water. As you're cutting, the nearest source of water is in your eye. So the gas quickly finds your eye, draws the water out, becomes stable, and in the process has formed a kind of sulfuric acid. So your body reacts to protect you and begins producing tears to try to flush out that acidic form that's now in your eye. So that's the science behind why an onion makes us cry. Let's talk about how people have tried to avoid it. Any kitchen store you go in would have goggles. Some people buy goggles and keep them in a drawer, and then they would put on goggles to cut an onion. That's fine if you can keep them on hand. Some people understand that by cooling an onion, you're going to slow down the rate at which the chemical reaction occurs. So they will plan ahead and put the onion in a freezer and then take it out to make dinner, and then that is not going to occur as quickly because of the cold cells. Some people will dunk an onion in water and cut it underwater because then the chemical reaction occurs underwater, but I'm trying to picture that when chopping an onion. I could understand slicing maybe, but chopping, that's a little hard to picture. Another trick I've heard is people putting a bowl of water by the onion, hoping that the reaction will occur in the bowl rather than in their eyes. And a final trick is putting a fan on your counter and just trying to blow that away from you while you are cutting. Those are okay, but today I'm going to show you how to cut so that you never need to use a trick. So when you pick up your onion, you're going to look for the root end. You can still tell kind of which end is the root. You are going to cut in a circle around the root end, because really what we're trying to do is pull out the bulb. All of the sulfuric compounds are in the bulb of the onion, not the rest of the onion. So if we can extract the bulb, there will be no tears. So as you cut around the root end of your onion, I guess you go about an inch out, maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch. You pay for onions by the pound, so it's kind of a shame to cut out more than you need when you've paid for them. So we're going to cut in a circle, and you want to go a little bit more of a cone than a cylinder. Again, trying to salvage as much of the onion as possible. So you tip your knife slightly in, but if your angle is too sharp, you're going to slice through the bulb anyway. So a slight angle, kind of like a cone, but not too sharp of a cone. And as you get back around, you'll start to feel that piece loosening. It's almost like the top of a jack-o'-lantern right now. You're cutting around the top, and you're going to lift out the middle. So it starts to loosen, and now it's the moment of truth, because you're either going to start crying or you're going to pull out a perfectly formed bulb that kind of looks like a Christmas ornament. It should even have this ruby tip still on. Okay, and it should look not like that. Oh dear, I see the rest of the bulb inside. So let me show you how it looked in second period. Okay, we're going to get this out of here. And this is what it should have looked like. The exact end of the bulb should still be intact. So today, I did my best to show you how to cut an onion without crying, though I kind of failed at the end. And I talked to you about the science behind why we cry, and I shared tips that people try to use, and then finally I showed you a cutting method that may need some practice to be perfected. So if you are going to 5 feet apart in the theater, you should take a box of tissues and just have a good cry. But for goodness sake, don't cry over dinner. They clap for me, clap. I want to give them one more pointer here. So I messed up, and I cut too sharp, and I cut off the end. Do you think that would affect your grade if you messed up yours too?
No.
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 Is the 8th grade standard cutting an onion, or is the 8th grade standard public speaking?
Public speaking.
So if you can recover and be okay with it and realize that, hey, we all mess up and it's fine, I'll be grading you on your speaking, not necessarily. I mean, things do go wrong. So no, I'm not necessarily looking at that. Okay, you can shut that off.